Welcome to Muscle and Money, the podcast for gym owners aiming to elevate their business. I'm your host, Andres Fujic. Join us as we explore top strategies of the fitness entrepreneurs, uncovering the blueprints of their achievements and offering actionable advice to increase revenue, boost retention rates, and expand your locations. Whether you're just starting out or scaling your operations, Muscle and Money is your go-to resource. Let's build stronger businesses one episode at a time. Welcome, everybody. My name is Andre. I'm a host of Muscle and Money podcast. And today I am honored and privileged and fortunate to have JJ on the call. Guys, JJ is coming from the world of membership that's swiping America and soon to be worldwide. It's a Restore Hyper Wellness brand. He is a MultiUnit franchise owner after being 6 years on a corporate side. So this is a unique opportunity for us to get both sides of the story. Somebody who knows corporate world and how to communicate franchises and feeling it's on its own skin and growing from the franchisee level. So Restore has 240 plus locations, 600 licenses are sold and growing rapidly. JJ, we are fortunate and blessed to have you here on the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andre. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. So, JJ, what we want to know is really unique story. You know, you have this story of both sides, both worlds. One is, you know, corporate world. You also know other brands. But what I want to make this is irrelevant to see, yes, this is a Muscle and Money fitness membership related businesses, but Restore is so tightly connected to a fitness world. I know I have 2 gym memberships and I have a Restore memberships. Every time I go extremely high in the workouts, Restore is my zone where I go and recover. Without Restore, I wouldn't be able to perform as good in a gym and a world of fitness. So I want to really you to share with us a little bit about your story. How did you get into Restore? Where did that story come from? In 2 to 5 minutes, if you can, tell us a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah, so I started with Restore in 2017. But before that, in college, I was a 2-sport athlete. I played football and I played lacrosse in college at West Point. And when I was playing lacrosse, I remember one day we were doing preseason conditioning and the head athletic trainer, Dana Putnam, told me to get into an ice bath after practice. And I thought he was nuts. I actually said to him, I said, I'm not injured. Why do you want me to get into this ice bath? And he told me to shut up and get into the ice bath anyway. And I remember the next day feeling like I could run forever. My legs felt extremely fresh. It was a miserable experience, but you couldn't argue with the results. And so, I always had an affinity for ice baths and recovery and that sort of thing. So fast forward, 20, 25 years, and I'm living in Seattle where, I've lived since 1995, and I stumbled upon cryotherapy. I was doing Pilates, actually, ironically, and my Pilates instructor told me that a cryotherapy place had opened up. It's around 2014, 2015 in the Seattle area. So I went and I did it. It was awesome. It was incredible, but it was $65 for a 3-minute session. It took me about 45 minutes to an hour in Seattle traffic to get from my house over there because it was on the other side of town. And I remember thinking, like, I love this, but I'll never pay $65 a session multiple times a week to do this. It's just too expensive. And so a couple years later, Jim Donnelly, who's the co-founder of Restore, former CEO, a longtime friend of mine, a great, brilliant entrepreneur, he was telling me about Restore and this cryotherapy business that he was opening. And so I was immediately intrigued by that. And so I started, digging into Restore more and learning more about it when they first opened a couple of the corporate stores. And in 2017, when Jim decided to franchise, I took a trip down to Austin, and he took me to the very first Restore that they opened in Austin, in South Austin. Immediately fell in love. I had been in corporate America for 20 years in the medical device space, was ready for a change to do something different. I had done really well in that career, but it was time for something new. And so I told him I wanted to be the first franchisee in the state of Washington. And so he told me, hey, it's yours, go do it. And in turn, I offered to help him on the side, just work through my network of people who were at the same stage of life that that I was at the time. I was 48 years old and ready for a change, to do something different and control my own life, my work destiny. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started reaching out to people, and it's kind of funny you talk about this intersection of what we do in fitness, but I remember I started telling people that this Restore was going to be kind of the next hot franchise model, similar to Orange Theory. And Orange Theory is something
True.
that I compared to Restore very much early on. So in about 8 weeks, I sent Jim about 10 leads for franchise owners, which was pretty significant at the time, considering we only had 2 franchises open. So Christmas holidays of 20, he called me up and said, "Hey, why don't you quit your job and come work for Restore? I need to build a leadership team. And as a CEO, I can't be flying around the country selling franchises. I need to do CEO stuff. So I need you to basically do all my dirty work for me." So it was off to the races from there. And so it was a really unique experience because being a franchise owner as well, and
Mm-hmm.
investing in, it was really easy sell for me. One, because I was
True.
passionate about what we were doing at Restore, but also because I could talk to prospective franchisees and say, "Hey, I own franchises in the system.
That's right.
I now own, 4 studios, 2 in Seattle, 2 in Pittsburgh." So it was always really easy to talk to franchise owners, and they knew that I wasn't selling them snake oil because I was in the business as well. So that's how I got to Restore, and then we had a rapid rise between 2017 and 2021, 2022.
What you're saying is impressive because you're not just promoting a brand, you're not expanding locations, you're not just bringing sales and making more franchises. I read once in a really, really good book that changed the way I think about leadership. Is it says the best leaders are those who feel the pain of people they lead. So you being franchisee and owning multi-owner franchisee, you know what these guys are dealing on a daily basis. It's not just you're looking at a presentation and telling them about benefits. You are one of them saying, "Hey, I'm telling you to do what I'm doing,"
Yeah,
instead of
that's
just
right.
go out and do your things.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And that was, there's always some tension between the franchisor and the franchisee on some level, but I
Always will
think
be.
always will be. And that was probably one of the most rewarding things about the job, while at the same time it was challenging because I had to play both sides. There were some days where I had to put on my franchisor hat and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of the line in the sand. We're doing this no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were times when I had to put my franchisee hat on and say, "Hey, I completely understand where you're coming from, and we're missing the mark as a franchisor." And so many times
Mm-hmm.
in the leadership meetings that we had weekly at Restore, I put it upon myself to be the advocate for the franchisee because I
Yeah.
was a franchisee, and I'm feeling the pain through my partners. I have partners, on the ground who were helping to run the studios because I was pretty busy with the day-to-day corporate job. But being in the studio, getting feedback from them, I understood the challenges that the franchisees were facing, and that allowed me to bring that back to corporate and try to make some changes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I gotta ask you a question. You see, you says, you are um, managing 4 locations. There's a lot of people who are stuck on this one location mindset. They own one location, one franchise, and they're thinking, should I go in a second one, third one, fourth one? I don't even have a time to manage my own life. This is all what I'm doing. Like, how the heck I'll find the time for second, third one, fourth one? So I want to ask you, what is the difference in skills or different in your job or day-to-day operations between running one or running 4?
Yeah, it's significantly different. This particular model, Restore, is a very complicated model. It's almost 3 businesses in one. I know
Mm-hmm.
you've been in studios, you're a customer, so you understand. You kind of have this core set of modalities of services that we offer: the cryotherapy, compression, red light therapy, infrared sauna, things that are becoming more and more, mainstream household things that pro athletes and celebrities have been doing for years, and now we're bringing into the
Yes.
mainstream public. And then you have the medical business, which are the IVs and the NAD and the IM shots, hyperbaric chambers. And then you have this esthetician business where we do facials, we do hydrofacials, and Krask and slimming and toning. The body is your skin is your largest organ, and it's important that you take care of that as well. And so managing that is a lot more difficult than managing a Jimmy John's or a franchise of that caliber, to where you hire young kids and they make sandwiches, and you can scale very, very rapidly, and you can open up 20, 50, 100 of these things if you're very well capitalized or private equity backed. What we found at Restore is that's much more difficult because of the complexity of the business, and the franchise owners have to be hands-on, and the most successful franchise owners in the system are hands-on. And we kind of always joke, like, Restore, you didn't sign up to buy a franchise, you bought yourself a job, because you have to be in the studio frequently and hands-on and involved. So to answer your question,
you do that when you have 4 locations.
How do you do that when you have 4 locations? You have to hire good people. You have to have good partners. You have to prepare and scale properly. And I think the first studio, you have to be there all the time, probably for the first year, to really learn the business. And then from there, you can think about moving on and expanding and going to 3, 4, 5 or more studios. But it is very challenging. And that was one of the things early on, is I talked about the franchisor rub, and we were pushing franchisees to open more studios, because we understand that multi-unit ownership is, the way that franchising works, and works the best. But in their defense, franchisees didn't want to, because they felt like, all right, if I've got this really successful studio, if I take my eye off the ball, that one's going to suffer while I'm trying to get this next one up and running. And so, it really comes down to you have to have a good team in place, a good infrastructure organization. I know, Andy Ayers in Philadelphia, the AMA Development Group, they've done a phenomenal job of putting in the infrastructure and team of ownership, team of regional managers, et cetera, to really help them to be able to scale to now 9 units in the Pennsylvania area. So it's really about the people that you bring on and hire and employ that are going to make you successful, because you can't do it by yourself. You just can't.
Sure. And that relates to Keith Cunningham. Is one of my mentors, and he has a business mastery university, literally. And he says, if you want to become owner, not operator, because a single unit franchises are all operators.
That's right.
And how if you're an operator? If you go out for 10 days out of your business, if you feel anxiety, what's going on while you're not there, you're an operator, right? You can't disconnect. But becoming an owner, not operator, requires 3 things based on him. And you already mentioned it. He says leverage, that means people. Second one is processes, like operational manuals, playbooks, SOPs, and so on, so you can duplicate it. You just don't want to teach it over the shoulder or one-on-one. And the third one is KPIs, optics, understanding really how to measure performance on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So Franchisor as a Restore comes with the processes of, like, it's a business in a box. So you got to duplicate. You don't need to think about. And we'll talk about KPI, what's so important. But for those who are thinking about how do I jump off, you just need to think about what you measure and how you work, right? We have to get the right people, trust the right people, put the right process in place. Teach the people, not by teaching them via Zoom or in person. Teach them through the resource. Give them a knowledge base, give them a process, let them master it. That's the only way you duplicate it.
Yeah.
So
no, I 100% agree. You have to measure what matters, and in this business, it's really important for owners to understand that and be able to see the signs of, hey, where are we falling behind? Where are we missing the mark on these really important KPIs, and how do we fix those as quickly as possible to get?
Let's talk about that. I'm all about growth of the business. If one of the owners who owns a membership business, what is important to measure in your world when it comes to, day-to-day operations, monthly, weekly? What do you guys measure? What do you feel it's important? What would you advise somebody who is going to a multi-unit ownership to measure?
What I would say about any membership model, whether it's Restore or whether it's fitness, one of the things that is most crucial is just new people walking through your doors. You have to have what we call a Restore FTVs, first time visitors walking through your doors, because it's really a matter of how many at bats is your team getting every day. You're as an owner, you're bringing on the right team, you're training them, you're giving them the tools and the processes to be successful. Let's not kid ourselves. These are sales jobs. We call them different,
Yes.
titles and positions, but the front desk people, that are in Sherry, the people that Restore, the hyper wellness reps, whatever you want to call them, they're salespeople at the end of the day. They have to sell memberships, and memberships are what makes the business thrive. And so, really the two things that we focus on the most are how many first time visits are we getting each month coming through the door, and then what's our conversion rate? How well are we converting those people to members the first time they walk in the door? And so if you can get for example, in Restore, in a model where you only need you only need 500 members to have a really, really successful business in Restore, because it's not a 100% auto pay membership revenue model like fitness. We do expect our members to come into Restore and spend additional revenue on top of the membership, like you come in and you buy a pack of NAD, like that's additional revenue that you're spending on top of your membership every month.
Boost
and you
your IVs with a pack of 30.
Right. That's right. Exactly. But we do know that memberships and, auto pay, which is about 45 to 50% of our revenue, we know that that's important. And that starts with how many people are walking,
revenue extension.
That's right. How many people are walking through your studio each month? How many new people? And how well are you converting? So if you have 150 new people walking through your studio each month and you're converting at 30%, which is a pretty decent conversion rate, the best studios convert probably closer to 40. But if you're converting at 30% and you're getting 45 new members a month, you're going to have a really nice, healthy business over time. If you can, the third KPI, if you can reduce churn. And so churn is something that we really focus on as well. We're getting a lot of first-time visitors and we're converting them at a higher rate, but how many are we losing out the back door? So looking at net new members. So I'm bringing on 45 new members, but hopefully I didn't lose 20 out the backside. You want to keep that churn rate ideally under 5% if you can on a monthly.
Got it. So this is relevant across every membership business, and pretty much every business today is becoming a membership business. It's how long you can keep member. It's a lifetime value. It's how many months they'll stick to it. You share not only what you're tracking, but pretty much what's the benchmark and what's the good numbers for you. I'm curious, literally one at a time. If I'm opening now Restore franchise, and I'm either taking over a location or I'm jumping into brand new territory, what would you advise me to spend my time and money on to really get those leads? You says we want 150 people through the door coming in, first timers. What do I do? What do you recommend me doing to get those people in?
It's a combination of things. Obviously, nothing beats grassroots marketing of partnerships with other local businesses in the community. That's the easiest way to drive people into your studios. You have relationships with other businesses. They can feed you customers, you feed them customers, etc. So we kind of forget about grassroots. And the reason I say that is because being an early franchisee at Restore, we didn't have really any digital marketing back in 2017. We didn't have pre-sales. We didn't have all of these things. There pretty much was, hey, owner, invest your $500,000 in this franchise, and then you need to go. The playbook is go out to Orange Theory and F45 and LA Fitness and all of the other big box gyms and set up tabling events and sign up people to become members there or give them free service cards to come in and try to service. And so that's kind of what we did in the early days and to drive business. So we can't ever forget about that because that's always going to be a crucial part of the business. But from a digital marketing standpoint, you have to invest in your business. If you don't, it just won't thrive. It won't go to the next level. And so when we started, adding digital marketing agencies and we started using tools like Referrizer and other like that, we really saw the revenue of the system, the AUV of the system increase significantly because we were starting to be able to really target more people. And so, really aggressive text campaigns, text and email campaigns and follow-ups. It's really important to have kind of your standard ads on a monthly basis that you run to try to drive first-time visitors in the door. So whether that's a $10 first-time cryotherapy session or a $79 first-time IV or a first-time hydrofacial at $125, those are things that Google ads and Facebook ads that people click on and redeem that offer, and that brings them in the doors. But then you also have to have really creative text campaigns and activations that you do on a monthly basis to really, you identify areas of the business where you need to grow. So for example, going back to the membership example, so we need to grow our memberships. Okay, in the month of April, we're going to do a membership activation. And that membership activation is going to go out to 3,000 people in our CRM to try to get them into the doors and sign up for membership. So we have a phrase that you can't cut your way to profitability at Restore. You've got to go out and spend money in order to make money and to be successful. And so digital marketing and these tools, CRMs, et cetera, are key to the success of a new franchise owner.
JJ, you're absolutely true. And now I understand when I go to Restore, as soon as there's a nice table there with a bunch of flyers and business cards and little table tents of businesses. They're different all the way from nutrition to coaching to gyms. I mean, even some of restaurants and so on, like probably like 60, 70 of them. And I'm thinking like, okay, you're helping community. But I believe now every one of those is reciprocating. If 100%. There's a 70 business cards or 70 different businesses, and I was checking, like looking, like, oh my God, I didn't even know there's businesses around.
Yeah.
Now the Restore is probably in 60, 70 different businesses out there promoting them. Yeah. And think about it. If you're a gym owner listening to this, Restore is the first business you would go to, right? Yeah. Tap along. Like, don't you want people who are health-minded, really wellness-minded to be part of your gym and just partner up? This is like grassroots. This kind of marketing will never cease to exist. These relationships. Yeah. And I think it starts by, hey, why don't you come and try cryotherapy? Every time I have a friend coming over or from different state, I take them to Restore. And I love to take them into cryotherapy and I record them when they're coming out because it's very hard to pursue them to go in. Like if you guys haven't tried cryotherapy, it's like, I don't want to be on minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit. But once you experience it, it's a world of difference. Your energy jumps from 5 to 11 immediately. It's like, it's hard not to do it, not to talk about health benefits. So everybody should try it and everybody should be recommending. This is a partnership that people will supposed to look up to and grab their spot. So I love what you're saying. It's absolutely undeniably worth it. It takes a little bit of time, but hey, don't you want to be part of the community and really get to know other people in businesses?
Yeah, that's right. And I think we always say that Jim termed this phrase a while ago, we're Switzerland. Like we're neutral. We kind of work with everyone. We work with, big box gyms. We work with boutique fitness. We work with both Orange Theory and F45, who probably in a lot of ways, I know they look at each other as competitors, but we look at them as partners. We're neutral in that thing. But I think you hit on something that's really crucial. And I could say this for gyms, I could say this for chiropractors, I could say this for surgeons. One of the things about Restore is that, what we do in terms of the recovery business, the recovery aspect of our business, is really crucial for their business. And so if you have someone that's a member at, I'm going to keep using Orange Theory, so I'm going to continue to use them. If they're a member at Orange Theory and they're doing 5, 7 workouts a day and they're killing their body and they're burning out and then they get injured. CrossFit's another example. We love CrossFit because they definitely get
Yes.
injured all the time. But
Yes.
if we can help your member at CrossFit or Orange Theory not get injured because they're recovering their body properly with red light and cryo, that's a win for you because guess what? They're not going to cancel their membership because they're injured. And they're going to feel better every time they go in and they do their workouts. So it makes their workouts a little bit easier. If you're a chiropractor and you adjust someone, why not send them to do cryo? That's going to help reduce the inflammation in the body. It's going to help you reduce the soreness. If you're an orthopedic surgeon or a plastic surgeon and you do surgery on someone, why wouldn't you send them to Restore to get into our hyperbaric oxygen chamber to heal their body faster? That's good for you as a surgeon. That's marketing for you as a surgeon to be able to say, my patients on average recover from ACL surgery in 4 weeks versus 8 weeks because I send my patients to Restore to do cryotherapy and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So,
And that's totally true, guys. I run marathon, and I prepare for one. So if I go to freeze myself to cryotherapy right after I run, I feel like that day I didn't run it at all. Like I'm brand new, I can jump in and I can continue. It's incredible. Second thing is I want to give a little commercial for this unpopular but incredibly so valuable NAD. When I start taking NAD, the owner says your recovery after workout will be better. And at that time, that was like 3 years ago, I was in Orange Theory and I wanted to do Orange Theory every day. But Orange Theory was so intensive because you have to be in a orange zone. It's like 12 points in a heartbeat. I go to sleep that night and my heart is still catching up. Like no way I can come tomorrow and do this again, right? It was really intensive for people who take full on. But after NAD, I was like, where that came from?
yeah,
it's almost like you get some hidden secret. Oh, and on a cognitive level, focus goes up tremendously for all professionals out there. You get 5 more hours in a day. So it was absolutely game changer. And for everybody in who is athlete, professional, thinking about their body, I think you guys are leader. I'm blessed that I found that service that exists, that you guys are doing it. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
So
really.
partnerships. I can't emphasize enough as well. Any tip to explore partnership? Like you as an owner, it's easy. You can walk in, go out. But how do you get employees to build that partnership? Or do you even ask employees or do you put that job in your hands?
Yeah, that's a great question. As owners, we try to get out and do it. There's that business owner to business owner relationship that is always something that you can use to really develop a partnership with someone. It's challenging sometimes. We used to say we used to put these roles into like the general manager was responsible for doing outreach and tabling events and partnerships and that sort of thing. And over time, I think it's kind of it's a team effort, and you have to find the person that thrives in that environment and loves to do it. And so that goes back to the hiring process of hiring good people. You have to find people that have different strengths. Some people's strength is in the studio dealing with customers every day. Like that's kind of their wheelhouse of like developing those care plans for clients that walk through the doors. If you send them out to try to do a tabling event, it's outside of their comfort zone. They may not be good at it. And so that's why it's important to find people who are hustlers, who are grinders, who love going out and doing that stuff, who love going out and really establishing those relationships. And so, I would say it's a hybrid. We try to put the majority of it on the team and have them buy into the process and own that. But as owners, we obviously have to leverage our relationships that we have in the community through things like the Chamber of Commerce, and my partners and I, we go to different networking events in the community that, quite frankly, those networking events aren't necessarily appropriate for some of the team members, like they want
Mm-hmm.
the business owners to be there to make those relationships. So I'd say it's probably,
Mm-hmm.
30%
Mm-hmm.
of it ownership, kind
Mm.
of
Got
networking
it.
and doing their thing, and the other 70% is the team actually going out and building those relationships, because that's,
Mm-hmm.
by on the flip side of that, my general manager at Restore should have a relationship with the general manager at Club
True.
Pilates or
Yes.
F45 or LA Fitness, et cetera. So they have their own that they can develop, and they both have their goals that they have to meet. And so they'll work
Yes.
together to say, hey, how can you help me increase my memberships at my studio and vice versa?
Especially if you're dealing with the multi-unit owners. As a owner, you might not find other owners because they own 5, 6, 7, 11, 12 locations if
That's
it's a bigger
right.
brand.
Yeah.
So it's harder. So both are great. You just need to do it and keep changing it, keep improving it while you get it on. So I do have a couple really fast questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
And these are like quick answers. You know the answer, whatever first comes on your mind, you just spit it out, right? The first one is you as a leader needs to learn. You're consistently growing, you're learning, you have your own resources, right? So who do you follow in the industry? Who is podcast, influencers, coach, person that you go to get inspired or learn from?
There's obvious. There's the Hubermans of the world. There's the Dave Aspreys of the world. I mean, those guys are kind of the pioneers in this space in terms of performance medicine and the things that they talk about and the things that they do. So those are two of the people that I
Cool.
follow and take a look at what they're doing, because they're kind of setting the trends and the pace, and they have tremendous base of followers that listen to them,
Yes.
and it's whatever they say is gospel. And so that's one of the things that attracted me about Restore in the first place, about being an owner in this business, is we don't know what's on the horizon down the road. Like right
Mm,
now, IVs,
mhm.
NAD, infrared saunas, hyperbaric. Like, what's the new red light therapy 10 years from now? I look at Restore and I look at this performance medicine brand as a ever evolving brand, to where it's never going to get stale, because there's always going to be the cool things that the Hubermans and the Dave Aspreys of the world stumble upon,
Mm,
that we wind up making more mainstream. So those
right.
are two of the first names that come up when I think about,
That's
who
awesome.
I.
Now, I want to ask you second question. There are people that you probably look up to that might be doing something better than you, might be in your industry, in competitive world, or in a different industry, but there are something that you says, oh my God, that guy's killing it. He might not be podcast host or influencer, but he's just killing it. I would love you to name two people that you want me to interview. Somebody who would you like me to extract knowledge and put him on a podcast so you can go and listen and says, I now know how they think, how they work, how they operate, and what's behind. So who are the two people you would like to hear on a podcast and know their story?
Someone who
Can be
I would
inside the
like.
chain as well. Can be inside outside of the chain. Somebody you met, somebody that has their own superpowers.
Some of the people that I follow and look at on social media. I mean, you look at
Yes, sir.
like a David Goggins, who's just an animal at what he does in terms of ultra marathons and building his own personal brand of who he is, and mental toughness and fighting through things and
Mm,
physical fitness. And yeah, I was
good
talking
one.
about this the other day. You see people who they're just at a different level of mental toughness and intestinal fortitude, whatever you want to call it. And so
Yeah,
that's definitely
inspiring,
someone that is definitely inspiring,
outstanding.
inspiring for
Love
sure.
it. Love it. Do you have any recommendation for the book or podcast or something that you found it's really good?
I I really like the book Measure What Matters. We talk about the
KPIs.
KPIs and that sort of thing. I think that ties nicely into, really understanding what, let's face it, like a business can overwhelm you, if you try to do everything and measure every little thing. Like, you can kind of get into into the minutia and the weeds of things that I'm not saying they aren't important, but they don't necessarily move the needle in your business to
Yes.
make your business more successful. So by understanding, okay, what really matters in terms of making your business successful can kind of help you to focus and narrow down. I learned that, yeah, I'm a former Army officer, West Point graduate. And one of the things that being a cadet taught me was time management. I
Yes.
wasn't talented enough to be able to do everything really well as a cadet. So I had to kind of prioritize and pick and choose like what was
Mm.
important. And so you learn over time that, okay, like this seems like it's really important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And so that's going to fall by the wayside today because I need to focus on these more important things. And so,
How many people don't understand the difference between urgent and important, right?
that's right. That's right. People certainly don't. So measuring what matters is a big one.
Beautiful. Love it. And that also shows your position as a multi-unit owner. You have to. That's KPI. That has to be part of it, right? People, process, and measurement, KPIs, guys. And then the last one, where do you go to? I mean, physically, conferences. Is there any one of the favorite conferences you like to attend? To kind of
Um,
disconnect, go look at things from different perspective?
yeah, go to the International Franchise Association conference on an annual basis in some
Mm,
capacity. There's a kind of industry cryotherapy convention called CryoCon, which is kind of morphed into a bigger convention than just cryotherapy. It's all sort of like cutting
mm,
edge technology in this field that we're doing. So those are two of the ones that I generally attend. That's actually one of the things that I want to get more involved in. I think it's one of the things that for the past 6 years of just being head down, grinding, trying to help scale restore, I probably didn't take advantage of as much as I should have because, so focused
mm,
on trying to sell franchises and help franchisees get ramped up that I didn't attend as many conferences as I should. But there are some other
mhm.
ones that to attend, URSA out in LA, that's more of a fitness conference, but certainly there are some synergies that I think
Mhm.
matches. Although those are the ones that I can think of specifically.
Got it. And I want to say, as we are wrapping up with this podcast, the bonus question for everybody is, hey, if you're starting over from scratch, what
Yeah.
is the one thing you would avoid doing? Like, what's the mistake you made that you wouldn't do it again if you're starting over?
Oh my God, we made a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. So I could pull out a list and go through all of them. But
Good.
I would say a lot changed in the world between 2017 and 2021, particularly
Mm,
in the restore world. And so when I first talked to Jim about restore, it was $350,000 to $400,000 investment. I thought, man,
mhm,
I could open up a bunch of these. And so when my partners and I in Seattle here opened up our first studio, it cost us about almost $600,000 to open up our first studio. And we were completely self-funded for that studio. We
mhm,
were self-funded for studio number two. But something kind of happened where the restore model got more complicated from a standpoint of we started bringing on additional services and equipment that cost more money, and things kind of blew up where supply chain issues, everything got more expensive. The cost of construction went through the roof where, $200 a
yes.
square foot to build these larger facilities. And so, now to open a restore franchise, it's about $1 million. And so the a lot of owners started to go out and borrow capital to expand, going back to that, hey, you need to be multi-unit and you need to scale in order to grow your business. And so what happened is I think people get over leveraged in those situations where suddenly you're going out, you're borrowing capital to, try to
Mhm,
expand rapidly and open more
yeah.
studios. And I think my original plan as an owner was to always be self-funded, to open up one
Mhm,
and be ultra successful from day one and be able to
mhm,
get my return on investment in 2 years and then go out and open another one and be very methodical about it. And at some point, the world changed and things changed within our ecosystem to where that wasn't feasible for the average person to do who didn't have $30 million in the bank and were self-funded. So they had to go out and leverage capital. And leveraging capital isn't always bad. Leveraging capital is, many times a really good thing. But I do think in the Restore ecosystem, I think that was something that if we had to do it all over again, we would do differently and kind of slow things down and let people to, get their sea legs and grow more organically as opposed to, going out and borrowing a bunch of capital and then being over leveraged.
And I know this is great, and expanding the brand is always a beautiful thing. You guys are growing rapidly. I know the territories are, I don't know if they're sold out or not, but I also see it as a trend. In the last 50 years, JJ, people were buying a franchise as buying a job, be your own boss, and then they changed to something called multi-unit operators, where they become owners, not operators, when they diversify multiple streams of income from the multiple locations and grow that even more. And like Subway came up, like you cannot even buy the franchise unless you buy 8. And now the new trend in the last decade and a half is multi-brand ownership as well. And I'm thinking, if I'm a gym owner, yes, I can get 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. The more I get, I have to drive further. The distance becomes bigger. It's almost like I'm competing with myself. While, smart people are saying, like, how can I diversify this in the different industries? So how can I, if I'm gym owner, if you're a gym owner listening to this, considering extending yourself, diversifying not only in the industry, but in the territory, but in the different industries.
Yeah.
So I would love to know if this is something that's also for you, and I know you're helping brand as well and expand number of franchises, and if that's something of interest that you guys like working. And by the way, when you own the gym and you own the Restore, you partner with yourself, so you have 100% cross-pollination. That's easy. Both businesses just start growing organically. I want to see if this is something that I would love my audience to, if somebody's interested in owning Restore franchise, can they reach out to you to get more information, or who do they ask and how do we help them out about Restore?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I, going back to the beginning of starting as VP of franchise development at Restore, our strategy was very simplistic. Jim and I both had a pretty significant, group of friends network that we knew we could go to talk about Restore and get them to invest in Restore. So in the beginning, we grew Restore very organically through relationships that we've had for 30 years, whether it's college classmates at West Point or, people that I worked with at Medtronic and Abbott and other big medical device companies, et cetera, et cetera. It really was like friends and family in the early days and close people. And then we said, hey, we're going to run out of people. Like we only know so many people. So we have to go out and actually find people outside of that. But that was a great foundation because in the early days, and we knew that, okay, we have a group of franchisees that we can trust. And we know them, we trust them, we know their DNA, we know their background. So we're comfortable with our initial group of franchisees. But we did go out, our strategy after that was, okay, let's go out and find other multi-unit franchise owners. And so we were very methodical about going out and, I talk about Orange Theory a lot. We went out and found a lot of Orange Theory franchise owners, and our franchise owners in Southern California, the Los Gatos, Northern California, Silicon Valley area, Cleveland, Ohio. They're all Orange Theory franchise owners who, to your point, they have Orange Theories and Restores in the same shopping centers, many times right next to each other. And so absolutely. And it's not just fitness. I mean, I have a relationship with Dave Cuff. He's the chief development officer for Clean Juice. Clean Juice is a great, complementary type business to where it's health and wellness. And we both happen to have Tim Tebow as an ambassador for both, Restore and for Clean Juice. And so Dave and I formed a friendship and a partnership. And absolutely, if someone was looking to diversify outside of Restore and buy other franchises, I'd send them to Dave and say, go buy go buy a clean juice franchise, So absolutely, I think
So partnership works not only on a membership level, works on every level.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so, and to answer your other question, if someone's interested in franchising, there are some opportunities available. They can email franchisedevelopment@restore.com and someone will get back to them.
Sounds good. Appreciate that. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful insights and wisdom that comes with a decade of experience and that comes with owning multiple locations and experience from the corporate side and as well as from franchisee side. Thank you, JJ. We're fortunate to have you here. We're blessed to record this session and to give it out to our audience. Appreciate you coming up today.
Thanks for the opportunity, Andre. I appreciate it. And I'll look forward to working with you more in the future. So thank you.
Pleasure. And that's a wrap on another impactful episode of Muscle and Money. A big thank you to our guests for sharing their insights. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on the journey to build more successful gyms. Remember, today's insights are just the beginning. Apply what you learn and keep pushing boundaries. For more inspiring conversations and expert advice, subscribe to Muscle and Money on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review and share with fellow gym owners on the mission to elevate their business. Until next time, keep flexing those entrepreneurial muscles. Here's to your success in and out of the gym.